flying, and that's why I wore my snow boots in, not because I anticipate a whole lot to be sticking, but you just don't want to be wearing heels in this kind of weather outside. So as you look on the west side of the state, Grand Rapids to Kalamazoo, some light snow falling coming off of Lake Michigan, and a little bit here across Metro Detroit. Now I do want to draw your attention to the low pressure system off to the southwest, really over portions of Mexico, and the high pressure that pushed out of the Great Basin, creating a really dangerous scenario for folks in Southern California. And so we've been talking about the wildfires that have been persisting overnight, wind gusts at one point up to about 100 miles per hour up into the mountains. But right now, as those wind gusts stand from southern Arizona to southern California, anywhere between about 50 to 60 miles per hour. And so this is going to be part of the Santa Ana winds, that these strong winds flow over the mountains and over very dry land, and it just can be explosive for fires to grow. And so this is going to be coming from the inland, pushing over the coastal region. So on Exact Track 4D, bringing it back closer to home, we have a little bit of a breeze out there, but ours is more Arctic air coming from the north, and then that is going to usher in more of those lake effect snow bands, because the Great Lakes are actually behind in icing over, so that generates some of that moisture that then falls as snow, and we see a little bit of that here across portions of Metro Detroit. So scattered throughout portions of Washtenaw County, a bit more widespread into Wayne County from Inkster, Wayne, Canton, down into Romulus and Belleville, so you could get a little light coating, and then you get south of I-94 and some of those lake effect streamers working their way in to portions of Monroe County as well. The next weather maker, though, really the cold. And so for today, coldest air slightly farther north and east than where it was yesterday, but it embraces the Great Lakes. Going into your Thursday, some reinforcing cold will be near the northwestern part of the U.S. However, we're still getting clipped with that Arctic air coming out of the northwest. So tomorrow morning's the coldest morning for us here across southeastern Michigan. On Friday, cold air remains over a good portion of the country. Check out all this blue. Most of the lower 48 will have cooler than average conditions. So as we take a look outside in Belleville, good morning to you if you're joining us there. 23 degrees at Metro, 22 in Ann Arbor, 21 in Howell, 18 in Port Huron, with those west-northwesterly winds feeling like single digits to just below the teens. In fact, Mount Clemens and Pontiac feeling like 11. So today we don't warm up a whole lot. 25 is the afternoon high. Some snow chances increase heading into the afternoon. You'll see how those bands become more organized by 5 or 6, and that's mainly going to be along and south of I-94, where we could get a little more light accumulation. So snowfall forecast, I mean, we're talking maybe a dusting to an inch for today in those areas from about Howell towards Ann Arbor. But the feels like forecast will be notable tomorrow, as we'll have some sub-zero wind chills that we're waking up to tomorrow morning, and that makes it the coldest morning so far this week. Cold front sweeping through, and that's going to take us to our next snow chance on Friday, arriving possibly as early as midday, but definitely in the afternoon and evening. And that could bring us possibly maybe even 1 to 2 inches of snow. Otherwise, this weekend, right around 30. We'll take that into Monday, but then we'll get another blast of cold air that takes us into the low 20s for highs the middle of next week. Tired, even you at home, and then you factor in the snow and the cold, and just that time of year. Winter blues, we're picking up the blue on radar. That's some lake effect snow bands coming off of Lake Michigan and Grand Rapids and Kalamazoo, and we have some from Detroit up towards Flint. Now, this isn't going to dump a whole lot of snow for us here in southeast Michigan. Let's talk more about what's happening on the west side of the country. So on Exact Track 4D, following this low pressure system down into Mexico, but with that counterclockwise rotation, now we're talking about some of these inland winds pushing off into the coastal region and fueling wildfires. Now, as we speak, wind gusts right now from Pasadena to San Diego, you saw we just got a live update, about 55, 56 miles per hour, stronger up in the mountainous areas. And it's those Santa Ana winds that will flow over the mountains, over dry land, and fire growth can be explosive, which we saw overnight. You've heard us talk about it throughout the morning hours. And so we're going to keep a very close eye on the winds over there and how that will continue to fuel the wildfires. Back closer to home, our winds are coming out of the northwest, not nearly as strong as what's out west, but it's an Arctic air mass. And so that's blowing over the open waters of the Great Lakes, bringing us some of these lake effect snow bands. As we zoom in closer, if you're waking up in Plymouth, Canton, down towards Belleville and off towards Ypsilanti, some of those flakes are flying, probably not sticking too much. If we do see anything stick, maybe just a very minor dusting. Better chance for a little light accumulation to the south this afternoon. But for folks downriver, down into Carlton, down by Maybe and into Monroe, we have a couple light snow snow showers to start the day. We're tracking the cold though for sure. So for today, the coldest air is slightly farther north and east than where it's been, but still embracing the Great Lakes. Now, as far as Thursday, some reinforcing cold will be near the northwestern part of the country. But if you look at the darker shade of blue, still here across the Great Lakes, and we're getting that northwesterly flow, which will bring us really the coldest temperatures this week. Now, by Friday, cold air remains over much of the country, meaning the lower 48 could be dealing with predominantly lower than average temperatures. So 22 degrees at Metro right now. Taking a live look outside Mount Clemens, 20 in Howell, 19 in Pontiac, and 24 in Adrian. Northwesterly winds around 5 to 10 miles per hour, making it feel at least 10 degrees colder. So for today, we're only topping out a few degrees warmer than where we sit right now, but we'll have a better chance for some of those lake effect snow bands heading into the afternoon. Not for everyone. This is the setup here. Clouds went out for today, but there's the more organized bands by 5, 6 o'clock this evening from about Lansing, Jackson down towards Monroe. So we'll call it about I-94 southward, where we could pick up half inch, maybe at most a few isolated pockets, get about an inch of snow. The rest of us just have a few flurries that are possibly flying that don't add up too much. By tomorrow morning before daybreak, some clearing. That means we don't have the blanket of cloud cover, which will have the radiational cooling. So we'll have cooler temperatures tomorrow because of the breaks in the clouds. Snowfall forecast. And so for today, that's why I said I'm not going to really blink at this because we're just looking at a little light dusting, a little bit more off towards Ann Arbor. Otherwise, that feels like forecast by tomorrow. Some sub-zero wind chills in the forecast, especially to our north. And then by Friday, cold front sweeping in, and that's going to bring a more widespread snow chance starting maybe as early as midday. But we're going to take that into the afternoon and evening on Friday, where we pick up maybe 1 to 2 inches. So we'll be right around 30 this weekend, but we don't stay there long. Back in the low 20s by Tuesday of next week.